It's Tuesday, October 28th, and man, this past weekend of football might have been one of the ugliest I've ever witnessed. I'm talking straight up disaster energy on the field. Now, yeah, I'll admit I've got a bit of bias, but after digging through the stats and highlights, there's some truth to it. We might have just lived through a real NFL phenomenon. But before diving into why this weekend was such a train wreck, we gotta back up a bit and lay down some context first. We're in week 8, and if you follow the NFL, you already know this is the point where things start to dip. Every year around now, fan hype cools off. The season hits that midpoint slump, and games start to blur together. It's not that these matchups don't matter, it's just that nobody really knows how they'll shape playoff races or draft picks yet. Whether a team moves from 3 to 4 to 4, or 4 to 4, or 5 to 2 to 5 to 3, it doesn't feel like much right now. Sure, later in the season we'll look back and realize how key these games actually were, but at this point, it's just background noise for most fans. By now, we already know where every squad stands. The elite 1 and 2 loss teams, locked in as playoff threats. The middle-tier group sitting at 3 or 4 losses, still fighting, but hanging by a thread. And then, of course, the Chiefs, who just got healthy and somehow look scarier than they did last year. Meanwhile, teams sitting at 5 or more losses, yeah, they're already mentally drafting for next season, with a couple 7-loss disasters thrown in just to spice up the chaos. Sure, things can change, teams can go cold, players get injured, rosters get shuffled, but around this time, you already got a pretty clear picture of what's what. That's exactly why viewer excitement dips right here. Usually what keeps us tuned in are divisional rivalries and nail-biter games. But this weekend, it was one of the flattest, most depressing stretches of football we've seen all year. We kicked things off with a Thursday night snooze fest that nobody really believed in from the start. The Vikings were limping in with a backup quarterback, Carson Wentz, and the Chargers were just trying to stay warm. But what we got? A straight-up mess. Poor Wentz looked like he was in pain every snap, getting beat up for 4 long quarters while the Chargers just coasted. The game could have ended at halftime, but they dragged it out, finishing with a 27-point blowout that looked way uglier on TV than the final score suggests. So, after wiping that stinker from memory, fans hoped Sunday's early games would redeem the weekend. Spoiler alert, they didn't. The Dolphins versus Falcons matchup? Total wash. The Falcons looked like they missed the bus, letting a 1-6 Dolphins squad straight up torch them in a 34-10 beatdown. That wasn't a game, it was a public embarrassment. Meanwhile, the Eagles and Bills handled business like expected. Just routine, no surprises. But the Eagles took it a step further. Not only did they dominate, they added insult to injury by taking out the only exciting player left on the Giants roster. Yeah, they ended the Giants season for real this time. It was brutal, like watching a heavyweight pick on a kid brother. And that's just the start of why this weekend felt so cursed. Every game seemed more lopsided, more predictable, and somehow more painful to sit through than the last. The excitement, gone. The drama, dead. The energy, flatlined. It's like the NFL hit pause on entertainment and decided to run scrimmages instead. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, oh, they did. The Bills straight up bullied the Panthers and their backup quarterback like it was a high school scrimmage. That game was over before halftime, man. Same story for the other early games, just unwatchable. You could flip to any channel and still feel like you were wasting your time. The only 2 games that even pretended to have a pulse were the Bears versus Ravens and the Jets versus Bengals, and even those went off the rails fast. The Bears actually had the Ravens sweating early on, just a 3-point difference heading into the 4th. But then, boom, the Bears fell apart like they swallowed a pack of laxatives mid-drive. They completely collapsed, letting the Ravens, who were supposed to be done for the season, walk away with a 14-point win. That loss didn't just sting, it buried the Bears deeper in that "we used to be relevant" grave. Then came the one surprise gem of the day, Jets versus Bengals. Now, I'll admit, this one hit close to home for me. Out of nowhere, these 2 teams with 0 expectations turned it into the most chaotic shootout of the year. The Jets, who came in winless at 0-7, dropped 23 points in the 4th quarter alone. The final score, 39-38 Jets in a wild last-second thriller. It was absolute madness. But here's the catch, it didn't even matter. One team's season was already cooked and the other didn't even have their starting quarterback. So yeah, it was fun, it was wild. But when the dust settled, everyone was just like, cool, but so what? Then we rolled into the 4 p.m. slate, and once again, it was like watching teams forget how to football. The 49ers didn't just lose, they didn't show up. The Texans ran them ragged for 4 quarters straight, bleeding the entire fourth just to kill time. The Buccaneers, they did what they were supposed to do. Steamrolled the Saints by 20 points. 0 surprises. The Broncos, same thing. Completely dismantled the Cowboys with another 20-point blowout. And the Colts, red hot as ever, stomped the Titans by 24 points. It was like watching reruns of the same boring game with different jerseys. By that point, I had every game turned off by the middle of the third quarter. Nothing was worth watching anymore. So I pinned my hopes on Sunday Night Football because, hey, Aaron Rodgers versus his old squad sounded like the redemption we needed, right? And for 3 quarters, it actually delivered. There was tension, there were plays, it felt like real football again. But then the fourth quarter hit, and it all fell apart. Again, the Packers scored to take the lead. 4 minutes later, scored again to stretch it to 10. Then they added a field goal. Boom. Up by 13. Another one. Bam. 16-point lead. And the Steelers? Man, their drives looked like a blooper reel. -3 yards and punt, -9 and punt, 2 yards and fumble. It was painful to watch. What started as a legit Sunday night battle turned into another lopsided sleep fest before you could even grab a snack. 1 second, you're on the edge of your seat. The next, you're hitting that remote like, yeah, I'm done with this. Another game, another disappointment. What a mess. Man, I wish I could say Monday night saved the weekend, but nope, it was just more pain. The Chiefs came out swinging against Marcus Mariota and his Commanders, and it was ugly. Straight domination from start to finish. They didn't just win, they destroyed them in a 21-point blowout that honestly felt even worse than the score showed. By the time it was over, the average margin of victory for the entire weekend was 18.5 points. 18. That's not competitive football, that's punishment. And the only games even worth watching, those were between teams that have 0 postseason dreams left. Unless you're like me, holding out hope that the Bengals can somehow stay alive until Burrow comes back. But let's be real, even if he does, that defense ain't built to carry this squad into a deep playoff run. Now you might say, Isaac, okay, so the games were boring. Who cares? But here's the thing. It wasn't just bad football. It was bad football, plus a heavy dose of ref nonsense. Like, if the matchups didn't ruin the experience, the officiating definitely did. It felt like every single game had some ridiculous head-scratching call that made you want to throw the remote. Take the Eagles versus Giants game. An absolute circus of blown whistles and weird stoppages. Jake Elliott's kick was blown dead, then not blown dead, then somehow both. The infamous tush-push play, fumbled but ruled dead even though no whistle was ever heard. You can't make this stuff up. Then the Buccaneers got robbed of a fumble 6, literally stripped it, scored, crowds going wild, and then the refs just wiped it off the board like it never happened. The Bears got done dirty too. Hewley got knocked down by his own teammate. The Bears player punches the ball out, clear as day, but the ref claims he gave himself up? Come on, man, he wasn't even touched. That's not football, that's freestyle improv. And don't even get me started on the Packers versus Steelers game. There was a painfully obvious encroachment that somehow everyone saw, except the officials. That blown call literally cost the Steelers a possession. Unreal. But the grand finale of chaos came from that Chiefs versus Commanders Monday night disaster. The spotting was atrocious. They gave the Chiefs a first down on a play that was clearly short. The whole game looked like a blooper reel. Ugly interceptions, wild bounces, and one pass that literally ricocheted off a dude's face mask into another player's hands for a pick. Even Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. It was madness, but not the fun kind. And just when the Commanders had a tiny glimmer of hope, one last drive to maybe pull off a miracle, the refs decided to end it themselves. They erased a massive sack that could have flipped the game, all because of one of the softest personal foul calls I've ever seen. Like, are we playing football or flag football now? It wasn't just a bad weekend, it was a full-blown meltdown from the league, blowouts, chaos, and ref calls so bad they could make a fan question reality. What a nightmare. At this point, fans were losing it. Social media was on fire all night. Clips, replays, slow-motion breakdowns, everyone exposing how sloppy and inconsistent the officiating had gotten. It wasn't just frustration anymore, it was disbelief. People weren't even arguing about teams or stats. They were arguing about whether the refs were sabotaging the entertainment value of the whole league. You had former players tweeting things like, "This ain't football anymore," and coaches hinting that the NFL's trying to control outcomes. Broadcasters sounded like they didn't even know what they were watching. Every time a flag hit the turf, you could feel an entire fan base collectively groan like, "Here we go again." And look, bad officiating isn't new, it's part of sports. But this weekend, it felt like something else entirely. It was like the referees were running their own show out there. The flow of every game got chopped up, every big play had to be reviewed, and every review somehow ended up more confusing than before. Fans were screaming for explanations that never came. Coaches were left shrugging on the sidelines, and the announcers just sat there trying to fill silence with forced optimism. You could sense it. There's a real trust issue brewing between fans and the league right now. When people start saying things like, "I don't even care who wins anymore, just call it fair," that's a problem. Nobody tunes in for chaos and random flags. They tune in for competition and moments that mean something. But this weekend, it stripped that away completely. Even the analysts were clowning the league. During halftime shows and podcasts, guys were flat out saying it looked like the officials were auditioning for TV time instead of doing their jobs. And that's wild, because when the NFL's biggest talking point isn't a player, a coach, or a clutch moment, but the refs, that's when you know the product's broken. Some fans even pulled receipts from earlier in the season. Same bad calls, same lack of accountability, same statements from the league saying, "We'll review it internally." But that's all it ever is. Empty talk. The accountability is gone, and the frustration is louder than ever. People love football because it's supposed to be raw, emotional, unpredictable, but not unfair. The final straw for many came when highlight channels started posting full montages of the weekend's officiating blunders. You scroll through YouTube or X, and it's just title after title. Ref crew cost team the game. NFL fans furious over phantom flag. Is the league rigged? Like, that's the narrative now. The NFL isn't trending for its stars. It's trending for its mistakes. And what's even crazier, the NFL hasn't said a word about it, not a single statement, no clarification, nothing, just silence. And when the biggest sports league in the world goes quiet after a weekend this embarrassing, it only makes the conspiracy talk grow louder. Fans are asking if gambling money's creeping into officiating or if certain matchups are being managed for ratings. Whether that's true or not doesn't even matter at this point. The perception is what's killing it. Once fans start believing outcomes are being tampered with, the magic of the game starts dying. Because if people stop trusting what they see on that field, it's over. So yeah, call it dramatic, but this wasn't just a rough weekend. It was an NFL identity crisis on full display. Blowouts, chaos, and refs taking center stage. It's like the league forgot what made fans fall in love with football in the first place. Something's gotta change, and fast. So yeah, when you stack it all up, it was a total disaster. The entire weekend slate was cursed. Injuries everywhere, boring matchups, blowouts by halftime, and refs acting like they'd never seen a rule book before. Every game felt like deja vu, one-sided, sloppy, and draining to sit through. By the time Sunday night wrapped up, most fans were just tired, not entertained. That's how bad it got. It wasn't just disappointing, it was depressing. You couldn't even get hyped for a comeback because the games were already cooked before the third quarter. And every time something exciting did happen, boom, another flag, another missed call, another reason to roll your eyes and reach for the remote. For real, this might go down as one of the worst weekends of NFL football I've ever witnessed. Just straight up unwatchable chaos from top to bottom. Fans deserve better than that, man. The players deserve better too, because when the games stop being competitive and the refs steal the spotlight, the sport loses what makes it special: heart, suspense, and pride on the field. And if this weekend's what the mid-season slump is supposed to look like, then the league's got some serious soul-searching to do. But hey, what do you think? Was this weekend as trash as I'm calling it, or am I being too harsh? Drop your thoughts below. I really want to hear what y'all saw out there. And if you made it this far, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and share this with someone who suffered through these games too. Let's talk about it in the comments, because this weekend, it was wild for all the wrong reasons.